statutes that we are coming to just give it out, I believe and I hope everyone is going to adopt it. And I've seen Alaji Gruza coming in. Alaji, welcome. I wish this Congress is going to be a great one, so everybody will adopt the statutes that we are going to bring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sammy. Dear delegates, as has been alluded to, we are now to the real issue of the statutes. Ms. Naa Nortey, a member of the committee and a lawyer by profession, spent a great deal of time in meeting with key football constituents over a period of time. And she listened, she came back with some of the suggestions and comments. A lot of them made a lot of sense. And we have discussed those with FIFA, and as Mr. Nicola just told you, a lot of them have also been accepted by FIFA. They conform with FIFA. So I'll have Naa go through these step by step, and then we take it from there. Naa, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, delegates. Before I start, I'd want to acknowledge the presence of Justice Enini Eboa, a Justice of the Supreme Court, who also happens to be the chairman of the FIFA Ethics Committee, and also my board chairman at the Legal Aid Board. Justice Eboa, you're welcome. Disciplinary Committee, sorry. Yes, as has been said already, you're all aware that after or just shortly before we distributed the, is this thing working? We distributed the, is this one working? So I don't have to hold it and I can write. Is it working? Can it? It's not working, so I have to hold it. Okay, shortly before we distributed the Congress material, I held, on behalf of the NC, stakeholder engagements where I met most of the constituents. And I took your views with the promise that I would send those views to FIFA. If they are accepted, we would incorporate them in the final draft statutes. Luckily and fortunately for me, most of the things that I sent to FIFA, according to them, can be accommodated. So what I have done today is, before this discussion starts, to at least let you know the feedback that FIFA is happy to accommodate. So what I'm going to do right now is to project the draft statutes that I sent to you, and marked in red will be the suggestions that I got as a result of the stakeholder engagements, and then we'll project those ones so that in case somebody wants to discuss those issues, because they have already been accepted by FIFA, we don't waste time on those ones. So we'll do that very quickly if that's acceptable to you. All right. Bossman. So we start with one of the things we had. So we start with the table of contents. The first thing was, one of the feedback I got was that you were unhappy with the name, the board chairman. You preferred that the chairman of the board should maintain the nomenclature of president of the board. FIFA did not have a problem with that, and so we have amended the Big Willie. So we have amended the content to read that is part 3. We have president of the board of directors. That's the first change. And it runs through. Big with Article 12. 12. Let's go to 12. Now on the members, the first sentence, on the 2nd of August this year, on the 2nd of August this year, the President assented to the new Companies Code, Act 992, 2019. And therefore, we've changed it from Act, we've changed that. Because as of 2nd August, we have a new Companies Code. So we've made that change. Honestly, I really wish this thing would work. Can you get this to work so I don't have to? Now, also, under expulsion, Article 18. What happened to the light? Under Article 18. 18.2. The feedback I got, initially we had, I think it was more than 50%, but during the stakeholder, the feedback I got was that you prefer that it should be the presence of more than 75% of delegates representing the members eligible to vote at Congress to be able to expel a member. We took that on board, and so we've made that change. Again, when you come to part 2, that's Article 22, we now have the honorary president, not the chairman, and we've changed all that to president. Big Willie. Then we come to the elephant in the room, Article 26. Article 26, Big Willie. That's page 18. Okay. What we have done with Article 26 is this. Can I have some light in here? We initially came to you with 94 delegates. The reason being that FIFA was of the view that the 123 was unwieldy for, I mean, when you compare to other jurisdictions, even our English-speaking neighbors, Nigeria, who have a population far in excess of Ghana, with a Congress of 47. So what we did, after we spoke to FIFA, we said, look, our people are not happy. The feedback I'm getting is that they agree in principle that the numbers should go down. There should be a reduction. The 94, they were not happy with the distribution. But there was a thinking that went into the distribution. Now, we have, as late as last night, again, revised this from 94 to 120, which is still less than 123. So we have complied with FIFA. Now, what we're proposing to you today is for the Division 1 league clubs to be restored to 48. But there is a rider, a proviso. When we get to the transitional provisions, I will explain how this will not be permanent, unfortunately. The explanation will come when I get to a transitional provision as to how it should be done. So for the purposes of this Congress and the next one, the elective Congress, there will be 48 delegates from Division 1. Again, at this point, let me explain. We find ourselves in a very sticky situation. After we had sent you the papers for Congress, we were served with a judgment from the Court of Arbitration for Sport, asking us to restore Fire Rangers to Division 1. The difficulty we find ourselves in, and as you're very much aware, is that it's only Congress currently who can actually add on or reduce the numbers of clubs on the league table. So what we did was to simply comply with the CAS instruction. Now, at the next Congress, we will table a motion before you to decide whether we are going to have a 49 Division 1 league, because you have the power to do so, whether you will add on, whether you will reduce, we'll do the calculation and demote. It is entirely up to you. So please hold your fire on that issue. Allow me to finish my statute adoption. At the next Congress, please, you take that decision. It is within your power. At least let's have that concession. Thank you. Now, so we have 48 Division 1. Each of the 16, and we are hoping that with the adoption of these statutes, you are therefore agreeing that we should create the additional 6 regions. Well, was that a no? Oh, I wasn't, it was a rhetorical question. So what it is that we're going to have 16 RFAs. Then for schools and colleges, 1 delegate. Beach soccer, 1 delegate. Futsal, 1 delegate. Security services, 1 delegate. PFAG, 6. Coaches Association, 2. Referees Association, 2. And what we have done, we took out, now, we haven't reached there. Please, when I finish my presentation, we'll hear from you. So, now, for juvenile clubs, we had them initially. We took them out and tried for them to be represented by schools and colleges. They are apparently very well organized, and they said, look, you need to restore us. They made a compelling argument, which made sense to us. And so we have restored juvenile on their own to run the codes football at the district and regional levels. In association with the RFAs, we gave them 2 delegates, 120. That is our proposal to you. We will have the conversation about PFAG much later. Now, moving on. Can I have some? I think the light is bothering the cameraman, but it's also not. I can't see my paper. Can I have some light? Big Willie, next one. Sorry. Now, the next change we have effected is with, now, 37. What we have done with 37 is not much, but we have done 37.4. We have amended 37.4, and we have changed it to president, vice president, based on the feedback we got, unless you've decided to revert to what we originally had, which will make me happy. So, 4. Big really 4. Now, the mandate of the president, the vice president, and members of the board of directors shall be a term of 4 years. There was no difficulty with that. Their mandate shall immediately begin after the end of the Congress which has elected them. There was no difficulty with that. Now, no person, this is the addition, no person may serve as a president for more than 2 terms in office. We've capped it. Whether consecutive or not. Now, any other member of the board of directors, including the vice president, may serve for no more than 2 terms of office, whether consecutive or not. Now, any partial term beyond 24 months shall count as a full term. This is the addition we have done in terms of a review based on the feedback. What it means, and I should clarify, because the question was asked that, look, if I've served as a board member for 2 terms, can I then later run for president? The answer is yes. Now, you come to Article 41. Again, we now have a president of the GFA and not the chairman of the board. So if you don't get Jubilee House, you can fall on GFA president as your fallback position. Now, Article 42. What we have done, based on the feedback we got, and we thought what we had was, what can I say, was sufficiently protective of the situation we found ourselves in not too long ago, where contracts are signed by the president and we cannot, in fact, find copies and nobody seems to know the contents. So we put it in that the president should sign, the CEO should witness. Based on the feedback I got as a result of the stakeholder, we have changed that to read that all contracts, in red, all contracts must be signed by the CEO upon a resolution of the board of directors and be witnessed by the president. So that's the concession we've made. Now, the T. Again, during the stakeholder, the T, members were of the view that in the absence of the CEO, the board of directors should nominate one of the deputies to act in his stead. Usually, it should be the senior most deputy to act in the stead. We took that on board. FIFA can accommodate it. It's the change we've put it in. So. Now, the next thing is Article 47. Article 47, and when we met with the RFAs, or representatives of the RFAs, they had a few concerns. Under the E, they said we used the word amateur referees. It offended them. We've taken it out. So we have referees in the region. And then we omitted, they drew attention to the fact that the Congress actually has 2 delegates from the DFAs. So we've incorporated that. So that is another change. And then when you come to 40, again, under, still on the RFAs, when you come to 47, 47(8), F, 47F. So one person elected by the referees in the, this has to do with the delegates that go to the RFA Congress. They want one person elected by the referees in the region to represent them at Congress. We didn't have a problem with that because indeed at this Congress we do have a referee representation, and we didn't think, since we want to mirror what is at the top, we didn't have a problem with that. Now, one, therefore, will be... Sorry, we made a little boo-boo. We omitted in our draft statutes, we dealt with the membership of the ethics committee. However, we were silent on the prosecutors. And in order for us to touch our regulations or review our regulations, we need to mention them in the statutes as a basis for dealing with them in the regulations. And therefore, we have introduced an entirely new Article 59 to cover so you won't find it in your pack, I'm sorry. So, Big Willie. So we have Article 59, which says that the board, sorry, it's the board. Big Willie, you have to change that. It should be the board, sorry. Now, so the language should read, the board shall appoint as many prosecutors as necessary, not possible. Big Willie, please change that. As necessary for the smooth and effective prosecution of cases. A prosecutor may be a lawyer of at least 5 years standing at the bar, a retired police officer from the rank of ASP onwards who has done some prosecution in the court whilst in active service, or any other persons the GFA may deem fit. The prosecutor shall fulfill the same independence criteria as the chairman and deputy chairman of the independent committees and the judicial bodies, as stipulated in Article 53, paragraph 2 of these statutes. So, the yardstick for the chairman of our committees will be the same yardstick to judge our prosecutors and, of course, our ethics committee members. So that is an addition. So from here, the numbering changes. So we now have, so Article 60 disciplinary measures. I don't have anything there. Then we come to 63, now 64, the financial period. Now the financial period will be from 1st July to 30th June. We got that feedback, it's accepted. We've done the change, so that's that. Please put that in red, because it's actually a change, yes. So now, we, Article 66, now 67. So let's go to 66. Now 67. Go up, up. Yeah. Now, when we met with our stakeholders, on this particular one, they were of the view that it is high time we stopped using the government auditors, or that is the Audit Service of Ghana, to audit the GFA. Because when FIFA comes in, they use the internationally recognized bodies to do our audits. And so we went back to FIFA and said, look, this is it. And they said, we can accommodate it. So we have actually incorporated it. So the new Article 67, formerly 66, reads, so we've added on, the independent and external auditors appointed, sorry, I need my eyes, appointed by the Congress shall audit on a yearly basis the management accounts of the finance department in accordance with the appropriate principles of accounting and present a report to Congress. The auditor shall be appointed for a period of 3 years and be internationally recognized entities. So we are looking at the KPMGs, the Mazars, the PwCs, no longer the Audit Service of Ghana. We thank them for their service. That is the feedback we got from you. It can be accommodated, we put it in. Now, there's a rider. And in compliance with the company's code, the audited accounts shall be published in the national dailies, as is done with most companies before you go for AGM. Congress. Now, with the membership subscription, here we have to thank Alaji Grusa. He made a compelling case for a drastic reduction. We took it on board, and so my avarice has been reduced from 10,000 to 5,000, 2,500, and 1,000 for all others, including the women premier clubs. That's the 67, now 68. Now, we have introduced Article 80 as the last article. You don't have it in your pack, it's new. And this is because you would all recall that before we had this Congress, we had to deal with the issue of reckoning of time. We have 2 articles in the current statutes that deal with how time should be reckoned. And so to give 14 days notice of this extraordinary Congress to adopt statutes has become a 3-week affair, because we've had to take out holidays and weekends and all that. We have cleaned it up a bit, and so we are using the language of calendar days. And so this is how we are proposing we reckon time. So for the purposes, so that will be the new Article 80. You don't have it, but this is what it looks like. So for the purposes of computation of time in these statutes, or any regulations or rules of the GFA, days shall be counted as calendar days. Simple. So if I say 21-day notice, I start counting 21 days from, and then it just goes through. I don't start taking out weekends and holidays and all that. Now, Saturdays and Sundays shall be counted. 1 day shall mean 5 p.m. of the next day, and 24 hours shall mean 5 p.m. on the next day. So this is our proposal to you on how we should reckon time. Then we come to the transitional provisions. We come to the transitional provisions. We have done some slight amendments. Now, and this one is not as a result of stakeholder engagement, but it's I'm having to hand over. I've enjoyed the power, and so I'm giving myself some last-minute powers to do a few things, if you don't mind. So, but again, we need, because of the election, we realized that we needed a few more hands. I mean, there's just 3 of us. And so we asked FIFA if we can, therefore, get a few more hands on deck. Because what we have in terms of a roadmap to run the election, especially with the RFAs, we have to go to all 10 regions. There's 3 of us in the secretariat. So we need more hands, and so we've asked and we've been accommodated in terms of the fact that we are now allowed to, during their term of mandate, the members of the NC of the GRA, we are exceptionally powered, I love those words, exceptionally powered to form committees for the organization and supervision of the electoral process. Now, the persons whom we bring on board to help us run this electoral, and this is only for the next electoral process, that's it. The persons that we bring on board will have to fulfill the independence criteria stipulated under Article 53, Part 2 of these statutes. So that is the addition, and the rationale being that there are 3 of us and we need hands. So if it's acceptable to you, we can adopt that so that we are able to co-opt some of you where necessary, if you can't be independent, to help us run this election. Now, Big Willie, go up a bit. Then we added on, before, you know, when I got to Article 26, I did say that when I get to the transitional provision, I will explain how we intend to deal with the numbers of the Division 1. So what we have done is to propose to you that, and this is just in bullet points, we would, of course, later explain through regulations how this can be achieved. Now, the number of delegates representing Division 1 League will be reduced to 18. At the latest, by the next 2 football seasons, following the adoption of these statutes. So what we are talking about is playing a national league and pruning down the numbers within a 2-year period. If this is acceptable to you, we restore Division 1 to 48 for the next 2 football seasons, which we would use. So later, when you take the successful board members and candidates take over, what we expect them to do is to then roll out a program to reduce Division 1 over 2 seasons to 18. So for now, we restore them to 48. Okay. Then, the eligibility criteria for the board of directors of the GFA. So that's the last one. No, I'm coming. Not the. Now, during our stakeholder engagement, my attention was drawn to the fact that the way we had actually captured the 3 was excluding or was somehow not taking into account players. So we had to find a way of changing the language so that at least they can also, if they can solicit your vote or they can convince you to vote for them, be president of the FA. Because we're told that the language we had kind of excluded them. And so we now have must have played an active role in association football, example, as a player or an official within FIFA, CAF, or GFA, etc., for 2 of the last 5 years before being proposed as a candidate. So this is what we have. So that this is what we have by way of a change. Right, so I'm done. Thank you.